tax list as of, public records as of January 18th, last week. It also includes a list of everybody's property, and a parcel numbers for their property, and taxable values for their property. And you can see from the material, lease of property in Douglas Township, they represent 1.4% of the tax base in this township. Those people pay 1.4% of the bills in this township and the contributions to every other taxable entity in the county. So as you're thinking about this ordinance, I think it's fair for you to think about who you're representing. To the extent you make it easier for Apex or any other wind company to put wind turbines in your township, you are representing the 3.4%, not the 97%. Thank you.
Anyone else? Yep.
Linda Reynolds again. There's a few things. Tammy, you have a lot of dialogue going, and that's okay. But would you, for research for the next meeting, substations, the poles, that kind of thing with eminent domain, can you find a way of protecting us, especially the non-participating, that we don't lose our property to that type of thing? See if you can find anything on that. And also, because it seems like you do a lot of research, if you can get your hands on the Apex book that they give to the townships, I've heard there's things in there that are kind of concerning, and I think you're the person to look at for that. I heard it at another township. They were saying that they aren't going to go out and log your fields or your woods or anything. But in the next paragraph, they're telling you if they have to, they will, but they'll leave the lumber there for you. So those two things for you. Paul, Apex handed these out to every township that's in the project. I got this from the office here, just so you know where your source was on that. Becky, when you were talking about the 1640 on the safety deal, you said, well, a house. You're not as old as me. I have grandkids. What if my grandkids were out in that area playing? Now they're in the danger zone because you're saying 1,500. That's just something that to think about beyond just a home. You've got your yard too, that you might be out in a garden or whatever. Jack, do you not vote anymore? Is it just only if it's a tie?
I just vote for ties. I don't have to vote.
Oh, I didn't know that. I'm learning a lot. And this will continue on. The next meeting will be a special meeting again with the planner and the attorney to go over all this again?
It's public comment. I don't have to make comments.
Okay.
So,
But you're not done with the
paying
wind.
for
You're
them.
still working on that, correct?
right.
Okay.
Yeah, Paul has to come back with the final plan.
Okay.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Yeah, Eric Tester, I was wondering a couple of things. One, why don't we put out a survey and find out, like the other townships have done, what the people want? Because we're doing it a lot different than other townships. They're looking at their surveys and getting feedback from the people. You just voted, 500-foot turbines away from a 600-foot, or 500-foot turbines, 600 foot from our designated river. I don't think many people in this township thinks it's a good idea to stick these that close to our designated river, but the next township's a mile and a half, so there's a big difference, because, you don't wanna put a lot of time into something, and then the people say, well, we're not gonna put up with this anyway. So wouldn't it be a good idea to get a survey from the people so you got something to build on? Let's say the people say, we want 2 miles from a lake, or we're gonna vote it down. Well, you can put them 600 foot from the lake, but it's gonna get voted down in the first place. So wouldn't it make sense to get a survey on some of your main questions? What do we want for height? What do we want for sound? Because that's what some of the other townships are doing. And they're actually using the feedback from the survey, from the community, to try to answer these questions instead of just 6 people. That's all. I just think it'd be a good idea to put out a survey. Thanks.
Anyone else?
Melissa Bannon, Douglas Township and Pine Township. Tammy, I love your viewpoint of thinking in the future. This is what I've been trying to tell everybody, that Why are we rushing through these monstrous things when in 5 years, like you said, they could be obsolete and there's something better? There's a vertical one that goes on the side of the expressway or on top of our cars when we drive. So you guys are such in a hurry to rush through these ugly things where 97% of us don't want them, which Robert informed me. And there might only be 20 of us sitting here, but each person knows 25 or 30 people that don't want these. I have livestock. I wouldn't want one of them to fall on my horse that I love dearly when the ice storm comes. I just think you guys need to realize that if it's exclusionary and they can't come in now, it doesn't mean you can't look back at it in 5 years from now when they're safer, better, more adjusted, and they're not gonna hurt people. The infrasound, the infrared, I mean, all the stuff that hurt these people, that they're too new. I mean, you guys say they've been around 15 years, but if one person is hurt, demised, injured, has to move out of their home, that's one too many people. I pay a lot of taxes on 5 pieces of property. I really would like to be able to stay in this area. You know, you say it's getting older. Well, I'd like to give my young, hip teenagers and young kids my property someday, but how can they build anything on my property if there's this big, monstrous, ugly thing that probably in 5 years from now will sit there dormant because they have come up with something? So we're just gonna give these greedy people that want this, quote, green thing, their money, and we're gonna pay the price for it. So I love the thought process that you have. I wish we could keep it up. I love the fact that you're gonna put Douglas Township finally on year 2020, or maybe we'll get to 2022, because the internet's out there. I don't know why things can't be posted on the website. I don't know why we can't get it takes 2 minutes to scan something up and put it on there. So if you guys can get us up and going to modern age, I'm ecstatic. But you have to remember, there's a huge community with a lot of people that are supporting and paying for this township that may not be here if these things come in. It doesn't matter how safe you try to make it for all of us. One person gets hurt. One person loses something. One person has to move out because of health issues. That's one too many. But thank you for your work. I appreciate it.
Tammy Bunting, Douglas Township. Tammy, I do appreciate that you were really wanting to be transparent and wanted Apex to do this extra town hall, and it could be in the high school if that's what it takes, and that's awesome. So I really encourage you to get the rest of your board members and the big board to do Zoom meetings again. That's what we need. That's what the residents want. That would be transparency. I mean, we spent thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on lawyer fees, and you're getting $200 and some thousand in COVID money, and even some of the citizens offered to pay for it. So please convince your board and convince the big board to go back to Zoom meetings. It's really important in the winter, especially if you want to be transparent, which it genuinely sounded like you did. So please work on that. A couple other things. Yes, it is 1640 in an old manual for turbines smaller than 500 foot evacuation distance running uphill. And it's a scary thing. I would have to think that even the people that want turbines don't want to risk their house burning down. I mean, I truly believe that. Apex has there's an article here, wind turbine owned by Apex Clean Energy catches fire in Texas. Wind turbine owned by Apex Clean Energy caught fire in South Texas. Many people don't realize this, but wind turbines require oil to operate. Oil, which is often demonized by wind energy advocates, is used to reduce friction in the wind turbine. It also keeps the gearbox clean and protects metal surfaces from corrosion, according to wind power engineering. Oil is also flammable. When Portland and Taft Fire's crews arrived, there wasn't much they could do but get out of the way and watch from a distance. Their hoses couldn't reach the blaze, and even if they could, they would be very dangerous if those blades fell off while the turbine was in motion. It shouldn't happen. They have safety features built into them that locks the blades down. Taft Volunteer Fire Department Chief Dan Gilbertson said they were locked down until the fire burnt all the hydraulic oil out of it. And I don't know what they're going to do. They've had their people down there after a while, and they looked at it, but they didn't want to get around it either. I mean, health, safety, and welfare. I know that you're old, and I know I keep saying that, but you, at very minimum, have to keep the fire distance away from our properties. So I guess that's probably all I have for right now. I mean, 400 to 500 feet. You guys talked a lot last week about compromise, and going on the top end of that doesn't seem like compromise. You also, Ron and Tammy, I know for a fact, mentioned a couple times that the noise and shadow flicker will keep things like the discussion on the 1.5 mile setback from the lake, so you don't need that, cause you have the sound and the shadow flicker and a couple other discussions on height and stuff, and then you up the noise. So that didn't seem very cool, but thank you for listening.
Kevin Murphy, I'm from Winfield Township. Mr. Reddick, in your township, you have a very limited height on yours. Would I be correct to say they're 150 feet? Yes, sir? You can nod if you don't wanna answer it. And then Paul, you seem to really be, and I'm just trying to grasp a lot of this stuff, like why other people are here as well, to understand this. You almost sound like you're in Apex's back pocket. The way you.
Mr. Murphy, you need to address the board, not our,
Okay.
council.
Tell them that.
I strongly believe that Paul, your planner, is planning a lot of things for his own future, not for our future. He wouldn't be going the way he's going when he's brought up about LMAX and different sound things and distances from the lake. I think you should look at another planner, personally.
Anyone else? Yeah.
Kelly Jepson, Douglas Township. Tammy, I'm great that they welcomed you, and I do welcome you and Becky and Paul. But they were also, in the beginning, she doesn't know what she's talking about. She doesn't know what she's talking about. To the whole time in which you started questioning every time in which you did, in which it's great. Every time you questioned Paul, you know, I kind of smiled and went, yeah. You just said you weren't gonna ask a question, and now you're asking a question. I kind of chuckled at that, because I do that. And so they were not sure. They were bashing you, they're already doing their whole pat in your back, but they're ready to drive the knife in it whenever you make a mistake.
Oh, wow.
And then,
Oh, good lord.
and then they're talking about the fires. Well, they also did talk about the coal fires, the propane fires, the gas fires. We're talking about the guy that's got the 3,000 gallon propane, natural gas tanks. And if that blows up, you know, the safety and welfare of the neighbors around there, and then they're complaining about one wind turbine having a fire, they want all the safety setbacks. But then, we've got the coal fires, we got the natural gas fires, we got the oil fires, we've got, how the drought fires out in California and Texas and out in the west.
Put the turbine in your
Hey,
Excuse me?
she's talking, you can leave. You just sit there and be quiet, or you can leave.
So, they talk out of one side of the mouth and the other, in which that's what you all need, and we all need to be aware of. You stand firm in your own beliefs, you do your own research, you know yourself, and you won't be swayed by anybody else, good, one side or the other. And I wanna thank everybody for looking out not only for the 97% that they're talking about, but the ones that need the Meals on Wheels, the ones that need somebody to come and get them, take them to their doctor appointments, through the Commission on Aging. Also, the kids that want the free meals through the lunch system, they also need the busing, transportation, and they need the roof over their heads at the school, which is also gonna be their safe zone in a lot of different ways. So, I wanna thank everybody for taking the time not only to think of the leasers, the non-leasees, the participating members, but for those that can't say what they want because they are not here, they are in the different places in which they can't come to the meetings, that they don't understand what's going on, the silent majority that is out there, that's the people that you will be speaking for and thinking of. And I wanna thank everybody for doing that. Paul, Pat, Todd, Jack, Tammy, Becky, and Rick. Everybody,
up.
thank you.
Anyone else?
Sarah Kelly, live in Douglas Township, own property in Wheatland Township. I do wanna thank most of you. There's enough of you on the board to seem fairly intelligent. I don't know why you, I know you're not gonna answer me, but with some of the intelligence that's on the board here, why you are paying, hundreds and hundreds of dollars, I'm guessing about $700 an hour for these two to be here when there's enough intelligence, and you guys should trust yourselves to do this. He stated, Paul has stated how he researched this, you can research it too, and it might cost $700 an hour. Like Randy said about the Zoom, I've been saying that for a year. Lots of people won't come because COVID or they're sick. We have our grandchildren a lot. It would be nice, okay, I'll pay it if you can't afford it, but I know you can afford $700 an hour for these two. That's all, but I will pay for the Zoom.
Anyone else? Yeah.
Kathy Craig, Douglas Township. As I said at the beginning, when I asked before you started talking about the wind, your duty is to listen to the majority of the people and protect the township. You know that the people do not want the setbacks that you came up with, the height that you came up with, the noise that you came up with. You know that. You have heard people say that multiple times. You didn't listen and take into account what the majority of the people in this township want. In Mr. Reddick's township, it is documented, it's a 150-foot height limit. He is a lawyer, he made the motion and they voted unanimously on it. It's defensible in court, or he wouldn't have done that. Bay Township, Julie Weipert brought up a case that was a 30-foot height limit in Bay Township, John Check versus Bay Township. It was upheld in court. So, all the things that they are telling you, you can easily dispute or refute them. And Mr. LeBlanc is just hell-bent on getting his way. He's telling you stuff, and you guys are coming back at him. Thank you for that, because why are you paying him? I don't understand it. It's not being good stewards of the township money. I am very disappointed that the first newly reconfigured PC that we see goes in the opposite direction. If 400 is the average wind turbine height, then that means there's lower turbine heights. You could have erred on that side, but you went high. It's wrong. What you are doing is wrong. You are not following your oath of office, your duty as a planning commissioner. You are to listen to the people, and the people are speaking very clearly. Please listen to the people. Thank you.
Anyone else? Yeah.
Chris Hoover, Douglas Township. I just wanted to personally express I don't like that the taxpayers are being duly imposed this increase of lawyer fees for these corporations come in here and utilize the land in this township. Number two, new matter for today. I fully agree with Dave that you guys should not have any say whether somebody puts a decorative sign in their yard, on their barn, on their garage, hanging from their house, whether it's a business in service or not. There should be no zoning ordinance saying that you cannot put a decoration in your property like that.
Anyone else?
Rochelle Glenn, Township Township. I just wanted to reiterate, I think at the beginning you guys said about how you represent the whole township and your chairman and things like that you're supposed to be representation, you're held to a higher standard. And during public comment, there are people that stand up and want to bash other people in the audience. I don't think that should ever be allowed. And you're very good at using your gavel when you don't like what maybe somebody on this side has said, but you don't use your gavel when somebody is speaking, and bashing the rest of the audience members. I think you've made it pretty clear that those, comments are supposed to be made towards the board. And I don't think actually most of the people on this side of the room were sneering at Tammy about saying she didn't know what she was talking about. Did we say, this is a lot of conversation that we're not used to? Absolutely, because it was, but it was good conversation. We all sit here and realize that these are things that have to be discussed, and I don't think it's appropriate if you truly want to move forward with putting this together and having a civil conversation that you allow audience members to bash each other.
Okay, on that,
State your name, please.
Pardon?
Your name, please.
Oh, Dave Kelsey, I'm a zoning administrator for this township. Recently, just, within a couple of weeks ago, I had a complaint, written complaint, two different, complaints a gentleman, sent me saying that, we have a burn ordinance back in July of 2017, we enacted it, I believe it was. Well, right after that, the guy had, some fires there, and you can't do it. This guy, just a couple weeks ago wanted me to send them violations because they did something back in 2017. If you put that guy here tonight, he'd say, I'm not, I can't enforce zoning, just like Todd said about me earlier, because I'm not gonna enforce that back in 2017. Before that, a few years before that, somebody had 15 complaints. And out of them 15 complaints, I spent almost a whole day, there was only 3 complaints. I guarantee you, if she was here, she even said, I can't enforce zoning. It's, people need to, I've gone to college for zoning administrator, and certificates and all that stuff, and a lot of other classes too. People shouldn't try and interpret the zoning. If they have a question, I'll interpret it. That's what I'm hired to do. That's what our book says I'm supposed to do. And if they do have a disagreement, like I said earlier, Todd, you need to, address the ZBA and say, I felt Dave's, and I wouldn't get offended by it, I felt Dave's misinterpreting this, and maybe the ZBA will say, yes, Dave, you are. From that point on, I'll put a note in the book and enforce it the way the ZBA says I'm supposed to. And one other thing, for me to mail Todd another violation form, I'd rather not, because I'm afraid it might come up where he says I didn't do it again. I'd rather one of the board members or the clerk or somebody else do it, so that if he says it wasn't mailed to him, he can't throw it back at me again like he did, which it wasn't true. I did mail it, honest to God, I did. So that's all I have.
Oh, I never received it. Anyone else? All right, our next meeting scheduled for, our next regularly scheduled meeting is the last Wednesday of April. Is there a motion to adjourn? Motion to adjourn. Is there support?
Support.
Moved in second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries, meeting adjourned.
Jack, question then, on that, the next special one is the last Wednesday?
Regular scheduled one is the last Wednesday in April.